We're in Fort Worth, Texas, at the Will Rogers Memorial Coliseum for the 2003 World Championship Appaloosa Horse Show.
Distinctive, a champion at heart, talented and beautiful. All words synonymous with the legendary Appaloosa. A horse exceptional in its mix of style and ability, with an appeal reaching out to both family and the avid competitor. Join us as we take a look at this unique and colorful breed, Appaloosa, the horse nature destined to be different.
The Appaloosa's colorful ancestry can be traced back to the earliest recorded time. Like all horses in North America, the Appaloosa descends directly from horses brought to this continent by early Spanish explorers. The Nez Perce Indians of the inland Northwest deserve much of the credit for the Appaloosa horses we have today. The mountain valleys and rolling grasslands of the great Northwest were ideal for raising horses. A river that early fur traders called the Palouse flowed through the Nez Perce homelands of eastern Washington and northern Idaho. Along these banks, the spotted horses thrived, and early settlers began referring to them as Palouse horses. Through time, they became simply known as Appaloosas. The modern Appaloosa is a superb all-around athlete, capable of competing in the upper echelons of any event imaginable. Many breeds can claim one special attribute, but the Appaloosa rightfully claims diversity as its own. With their legendary stamina and endurance, Appaloosas are famous for setting speed records on the racetrack, as well as excelling in all levels of Western and English disciplines such as dressage, reining, and cutting. Outside the competitive ranks, the Appaloosa is a perfect family horse. Owners learn to treasure each individual Appaloosa for its own unique disposition, talent, and curiosity.
On today's show, we'll be focusing on the games classes, the Nez Perce Stake Race, the Camas Prairie Stump Race, and the always exciting Rope Race. Starting with the placing brackets here in the open Camas Prairie Stump Race, a little modified version of the barrel racing. This is Tim Top once again with you, Richard Langford.
Hey, Tim, it's good to be here with this Appaloosa Horse Club show. Might mention some of the people, Tim, that are not familiar with horse against horse, which the Appaloosa Horse Club is famous for, is the two sets of barrels. There's a 50-yard line in the middle of the arena. The first set of barrels are 30 feet from the starting line. They're 75 feet apart, and then the third barrel back home is 94 feet, and that's a standard pattern that we run when we set up two sets of barrels in the arena.
Now, Richard, we talked about the Christmas tree the other day. Why don't you go ahead and explain how that works here?
Yes, it's a 5-second start. When you come into the arena, they start the light system. It's 1 through 5, and the fifth light, of course, is a green light for go. And if you jump the starting line, Tim, then you're disqualified. And then it will tell who crosses the line. If they foul, it'll tell you. Then it'll also tell you who comes home and wins. And you know from watching some of these races, you need the electric light system because they're just so close.
This is the placing races. We're looking at 569 Drifter Exchange and Sherry Greaves Renner running against the 1054 horse Zippo's Dandelion and Ken Knowlton.
Yeah, Ken hails from New York. He's been working on this horse for about 4 years. Sherry, she hails from Indiana. And you can see that Sherry got the jump on the line if you're watching it real close. And that's one of the 3 or 4 big advantages you have to have.
And she'll take the win. Sherry Greaves Renner and Drifters Exchange, your 5th in the world. And 1054 Zippo's Dandelion and Ken Knowlton will be 6th in the world.
You know, Sherry's a former world champion herself. A lot of these people that competed today in this stump race, Tim, they're former world champions. Some of them are multi-world champions. Sue coming in right now, Sue Scobie, the first one in the arena. She's won this event several times. I think this year at the Nationals, she was the national pole champion. So these people are really, really strong competitors.
Sue Scobie Once again on the 721 horse here, as Richard just mentioned, the horse's Eyes Lucky. She'll be running against Dynamic Charlie, number 264. Courtney Henry's the jockey of that horse.
Yeah, Courtney's going to get a bad start, but it's going to turn out good for her. Sue got a little too quick.
Sue got even a worse start.
Now, see, if that had been called by the judge, he might have had a tendency maybe not to call Sue over, but the light caught her, and so Sue's going to be in 4th place.
The laser beam does not lie. You folks can see that yellow light there on the lower part of the Christmas tree. That's showing the starting line foul for Sue Scobie.
You know, we used to years ago, Tim. We did not have the light system, and boy, it was really tough for a judge to make the call. When there's a real close race in the old days, what they would do, they would just call it a draw and let's rerun, and hope that somebody has a better win. Now we're down to what we came for. I can tell you this right now: these two people, Jeff is from Indiana, and Sandy hails from Ohio. They're real good friends.
And number 223 is Jeff Langford with WM Mr. Money's-Worth.
Go on, Jeff.
The other horse is 285 My Ace on Deck and Sandra Bennett. These two racing for the World Championship and the Reserve World Championship. This is going to be a close one. Yep, she sure did by not a lot. We'll see that on that finish line camera that we've got there, that you'll see just how close this World Championship came down to.
Well, the race was run on the run home, Tim. Jeff got hung up a little bit in the 3rd barrel. Sandy's got a real fast horse when it comes home, and that was proven right there. Jeff now is the Reserve World Champion. He was a Reserve World Champion in the non-pro barrels the other day, so looks like he's in 2nd place a couple of times. But anyway, that was a good race, as you could see. One little thing, and you'll get beat. There's just so many variables when you run horse against horse. You know, I've always said that that's what you want. If you're going to have the World Championship race, let's have a good one, make it close, and somebody's going to win and somebody's going to lose. What I like about the Appaloosa competitors, Tim, they're just so congenial. You know, everybody wants to win, but when it's all over with, they'll go back in the runway. Those two people will be shaking hands, and 15, 20 minutes from now, they'll be laughing and everything else.
Sandra Bennett and My Ace on Deck's your World Champion, the Reserve World Champion Jeff Langford with WM Mr. Money's-Worth. We're here with Jeff Langford and WMR Mr. Money's-Worth, his Reserve Champion horse. Jeff, that was a pretty close race.
Very close. That's one thing about the Appaloosa Horse Against Horse. It's very exciting. The crowd loves it. The competitiveness out here with these kids, and it's just a lot of fun to be part of it.
Did you know that you would come in second, or was it too close to tell while you were running?
Well, I knew what type of horse Sandy had, and she had a lot of run going home. And I think I got out of the 3rd barrel ahead of her, but her horse outrun mine home. But it was close, but that's why we had the light system.
This is our 2003 World Champion in the Camas Prairie Stump Race, Sandy Bennett, and her horse, My Ace on Deck. Good run, Sandy.
Thank you very much.
And as you came across, we talked to Jeff. He wasn't sure who had won it. He thought maybe you did, and it was pretty obvious that you knew it when you came across.
I had to look at the light. I saw the light and was rather thrilled.
I bet so. What can you tell us about your horse?
He's been doing this about a year. He's only had about a year of barrel racing. He was working with cattle before he did this. He's 10 years old, so they're never too old to try something new.
Well, congratulations, it worked out for you.
We now take a break from the action for this Appaloosa Tip of the Month, sponsored by Buchanan Pump Service and Supply.